Wolves as they try to claw back the Reds' 6 points lead at the top. The January transfer window has been a hot topic. Arsenal have been linked, of course, with Wolves forward Matheus Cunha.
What I want from him as a captain. We had a conversation and everything is solved. He's ready for the game, committed with us and ready to help the team.
He's also been linked to a few other clubs. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest have their eye on him. Have there been any offers or bids for him at all?
I don't know. This is a question for the club. You know, he's my player. I think he's not for sale. This is the information from the club. And he's committed with us.
How much do you want him to stay at the club?
It's important, very important for us.
There's so much noise outside the club. Arsenal need to sign a forward. Arsenal need to sign a forward. And I know we sound like broken records when we ask you about that, but you clearly don't share that same sentiment. Do you think it is essential that you sign a forward, or would you be very happy with...
Sorry, I don't share what?
The same sentiment that you have to sign a forward this month? Or do you?
Have I ever said no to a striker?
No, but you don't feel it's a necessity, do you?
How do you say that?
You do feel it's a necessity?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, I'm saying so many people outside the club seem to think that Arsenal have to sign a forward this month.
So what is my opinion?
Yes.
That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay, my opinion is clear. We lost two very, very important players, Bukayo Saka and Gabi Jesus. So we lack goals, we lack people, we lack options in the front line. It's clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you think it's essential that you have to bring in forward then in the next...
If we can get the right player, that's what we are actively looking at it. Yeah. Any player, no. Someone that makes us better and has an impact in the team. It's clearly that for the period that we lost them, ideally, we need some help because we were very short already and we're even shorter.
And is there work going on at the moment to have you identified targets?
Yeah.
Coming back, where's your number 9? Where's your centre forward? But they got past Dinamo Zagreb in Europe in midweek, and a couple of the goal scorers, Declan Rice, and we saw Odegaard as well. Goals from midfield, that's what he wants as well, is right now.
Yeah, absolutely it is, yeah. But ultimately, he just needs to make sure he has enough goals to win a game of football. I think at times we can go down this route and thinking, well, the 9 has to do it, the 9 has to do it. But if they brought in a 9 that scored maybe 20 goals between now and the end of the year, no one else contributed, they'll end up in the same situation.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to go back a year, and we were having these same conversations, but this was the same time when Arsenal went on a run where they probably didn't drop any points for 2 months. They have the potential to be better. Obviously, Saka being missing is huge. Gabriel Jesus supporting as well. That is huge. But yeah, the goals are key. But I think for me in this game itself, they're going to go and play against the Wolves side who conceded 19 goals from set pieces. I think as far as teams that you don't want to be playing against if you're Wolves, I think Arsenal's probably going to be one of them. So it's not to say that the matchup won't work out. Wolves can't get better at that. But I think for Arteta, he's pragmatic. He knows that he wants to win games of football and give himself the best opportunity to do it. And for the last couple of years, I think he's been very good at that. He's come up a bit short, but I think they've been very good.
It feels like the new manager bounce has lost at Wolves now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the defensive issues that were there before are still there. The discipline issues that were there before are still there. I think going forward, they're still a very dangerous team, but defensively, they look so poor. And I think they'll be okay in terms of... I think there are 3 worst teams of Wolves in the Premier League right now, but I do think that they need to sort out some long-term issues and work out where the future of this team is, and that's a big challenge. But in terms of Arsenal, I mean, they're far too strong for this Wolves team.
Yeah. Vitor Pereira, the Wolves boss, says there, Matheus Cunha is not for sale. Whether...
He said, I think.
Oh, I think. Yeah. But so there's room for manoeuvre, right?
It's very clear, you know what I mean? So, unless he's trying to like really master his English, I think he's probably said something there which matters, you know?
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows that Cunha has been the standout for them
so
this season.
good to watch.
Standout. Some of the goals he's scored, his moments, like he's basically given them a chance to be thinking about not being relegated, because while they're conceding 3 goals a game, basically, you know, they've managed to win some games out of nowhere and score some great goals to keep them in games as well. So I think people are going to be interested in trying to bring him across to their side. And everyone essentially has a price. You know, we try and pretend that they don't, but everyone does have a price. And obviously they don't want to get rid of somebody that's potentially going to help them stay up. But the fact is, it's football, it's business. And, you know, while somebody's hot and he can score from corners like that, yeah, why not?
Is he a good fit for Arsenal?
I think he could be. I think he definitely could be. I think he's sort of like skill on the ball, his understanding, his intelligence in terms of moving around the field, and his link-up play is like very well suited to that setup. Whether he's going to be playing as a number 9, I'm not sure about that. But the fact is, Arteta's a good enough coach. The people around him are good enough players as well to get the strength to sort of play into his strengths
Yeah.
and him to play into theirs. So I think it could be a good sign.
It's so interesting because, you know, when you see one player who's been linked with the opposition and they're playing, you're like, is he going to be wholehearted, committed? Does he want to jeopardise a move, perhaps? Or does he want to put himself more in the shop window? If you're a player, what do you do?
Play well. I think that's
Yeah,
the
but
big
within
thing.
yourself almost.
I think unless he knows that he's going to be going to Arsenal, the plan is always to play well, because your employer at this moment in time is struggling down near the bottom of the table. You have to try and play well. You have to try and get that. And a win for him with his connection to Wolves against Arsenal is huge. They're looking for a spark to try and help them propel themselves up the table. This could be it.
And so what about his suitors, Arsenal, who, did the job in Europe, but they let more points slip against Aston Villa when it looked like they were cruising at 2-0 up, Flo?
Yeah, I think that'll be really frustrating for them as a group, because even though the results have still been fairly good recently, I still think there's a pressure, there's a visible pressure there. The injuries don't help.
Was this complacency? Was it Saliba missing? What was it?
I think the defence hasn't had a great Christmas and start of the year, to be honest. And I think obviously that is such a strong foundation for them, and it is what pushed them all the way close to the title last season. So we're so used to seeing them so strong at the back, and I think a few mistakes feel really exposed for Arsenal, even though they're still very, very strong in that position on the pitch. But I think as well, when you've got a player like Kai Havertz, who I actually think has maybe been overperforming since he arrived at Arsenal, perhaps this is more a levelling out of perhaps where he is realistically for them, because I think there is a lot of expectation on him to try and deliver double figures goals, whereas I think the position he's in right now, yes, he's fallen off a little bit, but I do think maybe realistically this is a lot of pressure on him to be Arsenal's main outlet right now, and I think the pressure has to come off a little bit, and that's where you see the best out of him. I think there's been a kind of reflection now back on that negativity from fans a little bit about his performances, and I do think when that starts to build, he gets out of it a little bit, but you don't want that to creep in, and that's why I think bringing another player who can absorb some of that from Havertz could be a good idea, because when he's isolated and he's the number 9 and there's injuries and everyone's looking at him, that's a really exposing place to be in.
12 points they've lost from winning positions this season, Arsenal. You said, I could see you when Flo was saying complacency and I was asking about William Saliba. What's your thinking of why they're just letting careless points slip at the minute?
I think at times we're guilty as people who love the Premier League of saying it's the best league in the world, but then also assuming that teams should win every week all the time comfortably as well. And I think as we look at that game there against Aston Villa are a team that are playing in the Champions League this year. They've got a manager on the side, Unai Emery, who's more experienced than a Mikel Arteta, a manager who knows situationally what to try and do in certain moments. And yes, Arsenal have made mistakes in that game and they've dropped those points elsewhere. But it's the Premier League. This is something that, we almost... We sort of say, oh, this is amazing, I can't believe it's happened. But then it happens.
I think you're
quite
right,
often.
actually. I think you're right, actually. Because we almost sort of blasé, about Manchester City when they go and win 15 games in a row. And then we expect other teams just to do it.
Football.
It's not going to happen.
It's a very, very tough sport. And I think for Aston Villa, given the fact that they beat Arsenal at the Emirates last season, the fact that I think it did well against them earlier in this season, why would they not have the belief they can get back into a game?
I think still with a team like Aston Villa, that any of those teams in probably the top 10, a lot of those teams have still good enough individual quality that can hurt anyone. It's just whether they can stay in games. And I think the problem is Arsenal gave them too much hope. If they had killed that game with the chances they had, they could have been 4-0 up and that would have been it. But as soon as they gave Villa a little hint of it, I think they just knew that there was a weakness there. As
Nedum mentioned a little earlier, I mean, there is a chance we'll get a set-piece goal, no doubt, from Arsenal. And there's been so much attention, hasn't there, on their set-piece specialists, Yova and McPhee. Do you think it's a good thing that these guys are almost getting as much attention on the sidelines as maybe the manager?
Oh, I think so. I mean, it's funny because I think people maybe have become a little bit obsessed with it when, it wasn't that long ago that maybe there were conversations around what Tony Pulis was doing with his throws, but even when Liverpool were bringing in set-piece specialists and long throw specialists and everything like that, I mean, everyone wants to make those marginal gains where they can, and Arsenal have a lot of fairly physical and big players, and they've unlocked something that helps them. I think it's harsh when people maybe criticise it, use it as a way to criticise. Yeah, and I do think they should be worried, though, about how much that they still create from open play, because that's something you need to focus on. But if that's your tool, that's your tool,
absolutely.
And you should use it.
Make the most of your weapons, right? OK, as far as Nottingham Forest are concerned, with their level on points, let's not forget, with Arsenal going into their match at Bournemouth this weekend, Forest boss Nuno Espirito Santo has been impressed by the consistency of his
Mikel Arteta is preparing his Arsenal side for a stern challenge when they face Wolves in the Premier League this weekend. While Arsenal is in fine form and aiming to maintain their push for success this season, Wolves are fighting to climb out of the relegation zone after a difficult start to their campaign. With a new manager at the helm, Wolves are gradually rebuilding their confidence. Under Vitor Pereira, the team has found renewed energy and organisation, making them a more formidable opponent. While the Gunners are favourites for the clash, Arteta knows that Wolves' current position makes them dangerous opponents, as they will feel they have nothing to lose. Wolves will approach the match looking to frustrate Arsenal and possibly cause an upset, as other clubs have done at times this season. Arteta has acknowledged the improvements Wolves have made under their new boss and emphasised the importance of preparation, particularly understanding how Pereira sets up his teams. Speaking to Arsenal media, Arteta shared his familiarity with Pereira's coaching style, noting its impact on Wolves since the Portuguese manager took over. "Has been in for a few weeks already, so we already know, and I know Vitor very well from previous clubs as well, what his ideas are, and it's very clear how he sets up his team," Arteta said. "He has had a really good impact on the team, and it will be a really tough match tomorrow. They are a really well-coached team, and especially there, they are difficult to beat." Wolves' improvement under Pereira makes them a threat, particularly as they are fighting for survival in the Premier League. Arsenal, meanwhile, will need to remain focused and avoid costly mistakes, as every opponent they face now has something significant at stake: either a European spot, a top-half finish, or avoiding relegation. Arteta's comments reflect the respect he has for Wolves' abilities and the importance of meticulous preparation. While Arsenal is expected to come away with the points, the manager is fully aware of the challenges Pereira's side could pose. For Arsenal, this match is another opportunity to demonstrate their resilience and maintain their momentum in the Premier League. However, they must tread carefully to ensure they do not fall victim to Wolves' newfound confidence and determination.